Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm painting up the Crypto Thralls from the Indomitus box. I'm doing my one in sub-assemblies. It's completely personal preference. You can choose to glue yours together if you want, but when I was just having a look at the model before I assembled it, it looks as though these orbs are going to be incredibly difficult to get to once his sort of bucket surrounding is fitted to him. So all I did is I just stuck those halves on some paper clips with a tiny bit of super glue, and then I just used some blue tack to cover the push to fit sort of sticky outy bit so that I didn't get any paint on it, so that it's still easy to insert into this chap when we're done. And then on the side I just put some blue tack in the holes here, again just to avoid paint getting in there so that we don't cause any issues when we try and fit the model together a bit later on. But yeah, I've undercoated him with Chaos Black spray, followed by a spray of Lead Belcher, just to get the model nice and silver. And then my first step from here, as always, is just to give the model a coat of non-oil. 1, to bring in some definition, and 2, as I find that paint doesn't tend to sit nicely over this Lead Belcher spray. So by putting some non-oil on, not only are we sort of darkening the model down, getting some definition in the recesses, but we're also making it easier for ourselves later on to apply some more paint on top of the model. So just start applying your non-oil, and I'll be back once this is done. Alright, that's our non-oil wash done and dry. As you can see, it sort of just brought out all that nice detail and provided the layer on which we can put our other paints down on. Don't forget to also do your bucket, so that that's all ready and drying for a bit later. Now what I'm going to do next is paint in the eye and the orb with Elthurian Grey. This is just so we can get this part of the paint scheme done, and then actually stick these bits on and then carry on with the rest of the miniature. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to load my brush up with a bit of Elthurian Grey, and then start carefully basing in, if I can get this in shot, this bit, his eye, and these orbs are on the side here that we intentionally left free so that we can actually reach them. Right, I will do that and I'll come back when that's done. With the Elthurian Grey now base coated in, we're going to actually start painting in that green glow, and for that I'm using Games Workshop's technical paint called Tesseract Glow. So I'm just loading up my brush with a bit of that, and I'm just going to come in here and start applying. You don't want too much in your brush. Try and apply it in sort of a smooth coat, watching out for pooling to avoid any blotchiness on the final product. And I'm just going to work my way around the model doing that, and I'll be back when I'm done, guys. That's the Tesseract Glow based in. You can see it's given those orbs a nice green glow. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of try and give the impression of a glow around the side of the orbs here, a bit similar to what I did on the scarabs. So just tinting the area around where the orbs are to give the impression of a glow. I'm going to do the same with this, and for that you still need your Tesseract Glow paint. I'm just loading up my brush, and it's just a matter of going around and carefully just sort of applying some of the paint around the area here. Not too much. I will be removing some of that, watching out for pooling, and just building it up until you're happy with it, and just cleaning up the mistake there. And I'll be back once I've done that, guys. That's our green glow effect done now. So the next step is to reattach his bucket, so that we can then start dry brushing and finishing off the rest of the model. So I will just disappear off camera to do that, and I'll be back once he's wearing his bucket. And that's the carapace glued on now, guys. You can see how difficult it would have been to get into those orbs if we hadn't built this in sub-assemblies. Right, so the next step is to lighten this armor back up again and sort of do some of the highlighting. For that we're going to use Necron Compound, and we're going to dry brush this over the armor like we have done in some of my previous tutorials. So I'm just preparing my brush. Just getting some of that paint off my brush. And then we'll just just going to, avoiding the face, that's the only place I wouldn't do. Just avoid the face as best you can. And then just start brightening back this armor up and catching some of the highlights as we go. And I'll just do this all over the armor, guys, and then I will be back for the next step. And with that nice quick dry brush of Necron compound done, you can see it's just lightened up the armor nicely and provided a bit of definition around all the edges. But we're wanting to take that definition just one step further. So grab your Stormhost Silver, and you're just wanting to go around the miniature, catching all the edges that you think the light would hit the most. And I'll also possibly just go around the base of some of the spell damage here, just to sort of make it stick out a bit further. So we'll just make a start on that. So you're just going around delicately catching the edges, and where you think the light will catch the most, sort of the top of the knee here. And I'll be back when I'm done with that, guys. Right, those are all those extra highlights picked out with Stormhost Silver, and I'm happy with that metal is sitting at the moment. I can now start moving on to picking out some of the other details. For example, this cable. I want that to be green, so I'm going to just grab some Caliban green on my brush and start basing that in very delicately. I believe this is the only cable on these guys, so it shouldn't take too long to get this detail done. So just a bit of Caliban green on your brush, thin down slightly, and just start blocking that in. And I'll be back when that is done and dry. And that's a couple of thin coats of the Caliban green, so now I just want to give it a quick highlight, and to do that I'm going to be using Warpstone Glow. So I've just thinned some Warpstone Glow down, and you're just wanting to try and catch where you think the light would hit. Try and actually keep that in shot. So for this one, that will be, for me, it's a bit hard to get this in shot, I apologise guys. Just at that bit there for me. Don't know if you can see that, I sort of just picked out that area. And if we have a quick look on this side, it will just be over here. And I'll be back when I'm happy with this, guys. Right, those cables are now highlighted, you can sort of just see in there. And I'm happy with that, so I'll just leave it there. Next step is going to be to cover this sort of collar bit in Retributor Gold. And that's just to add a bit of interest to the front of the model and sort of frame the face, the sort of goal that I'm working towards here. So just going to load my brush up with a bit of Retributor Gold, or Retributor Armor, I believe it's actually called. And then just going to start basing that in. Now that will cover up the sort of battle damage that you've already got on there, but not to worry, we'll be putting another wash on there, which should bring that back out again. I'll be back when I'm done. That's the Retributor armor done, just around the collar bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab a wash called Seraphim Sepia from Games Workshop, and we're just going to give that a fairly liberal coating with the Seraphim Sepia. We want it to try and age the gold a bit, and also settle in that battle damage. So I will just carry on with that. Try not to let it pull too much like it is in this area here. And I'll just carry on with that, and I'll be back when that's done, guys. Alright, that's the Seraphim Sepia applied, but I'm still waiting for that to dry. So in the meantime, I've grabbed my Ruin Lord Brass, and as with all the faces on my Necrons, I'm now just going to start blocking in some Ruin Lord Brass on the face. So just put on your brush and delicately start blocking that in. Try not to get any in the recesses where the non-oil has settled earlier. And I'll be back once that's done, guys. Right, that's the face coated in Ruin Lord Brass now. I really do like this colour. Next step is going to be to grab your Cryptek Armor Shade Gloss, give it a proper good shake, and then you just want to put a nice thin layer of this over the top, just to give it that nice, rich, warm bronze colour. And as I say, so pull down from the top, drag your brush off the bottom, and that just stops it pulling. So I find that where it pulls, it gets very very glossy, and that's not sort of the effect we're looking for. So just go around the whole miniature, being careful for pooling, not the whole miniature, just the face. Being careful for pooling, and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, Seraphim Sepia is now dry on the gold bits, so it's time to highlight those, and I'm going to be using Liberator Gold for that. So what you want to do is just get a bit in your brush, not too much. This bit's quite easy to highlight, I think, just from having a quick look at it. There's lots of nice sort of sharp edges that you can just catch with the side of your brush. Just go around the sides, highlighting all those edges, and where you think the light would catch, so around the bottom of the battle damage and stuff like that. So I'll be back when that's done, guys. With our Liberator Gold highlight now done, I think that's looking pretty nice. While we were doing that, our Cryptic Armor Shade Gloss also finished drying, so now it's time to finish highlighting up the face, and to do that I'm going to be using Canoptic Alloy, one of the new layer paints from Games Workshop. Right, so I've got a damp brush, and just with a bit of paint on the brush, just going to start going around all the sharp edges, just sort of catching all the bits where the light will go, and then you could use the side of your brush to sort of get these edges here and run your brush down the side here. It's easier than trying to use the tip. And I'll be back when that's all done, guys. That's our Canoptic Alloy done. You can see it's just really made those edges pop. I also sort of highlighted underneath some of the battle damage on the face just to make that stand out a bit more. But you could call the face finished there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hop back to the Canoptic Alloy, not the Canoptic Alloy, the Tesseract Glow technical paint, and I'm just going to ever so slightly tint these highlights that I've just done on this one with that Tesseract Glow, just to make it look as though, again, the eye is actually glowing. I will just put some paint on my brush quickly and show you just what I mean, just ever so slightly. Try and keep that shot, just ever so slightly tinting those highlights that we've just done with the screen paint. Not a lot at all, not a lot at all, but I'll just finish this up and then I'll show you the result. That's the subtle glow effect with the Tesseract Glow finished. I think that's quite nice. I'll just show you on the other one as well, which I'm painting up at the same time. I've sort of gone for a slightly stronger effect with this one, just because the face is sort of opened up a bit, so I'm imagining that the eye is a bit brighter. If you sort of compare the two, just for reference, you guys can have a look. There we go. Cool, next, that's the face done. So I'm going to move on to the weapons. So I'm not imagining that these are powered weapons, they look just like claws. So I'm just going to paint them slightly darker than I would do my normal weapon. So like a weapon that's powered, I sort of go with that look for. And if you want to see how I get that effect on my weapons, guys, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my tutorial for the Scorpec Destroyers when that comes out. But for these ones, I'm just going to go with like black, sort of obsidian claw-like like blades that aren't actually sort of powered in any way. And to do that, I'm going to start off by painting them black. So I've just got my Thin Down Abaddon black on my brush here, and I'm going to start by just painting that on just the sort of lower bit of the blade. Possibly take a couple of thin coats just to get a nice solid smooth finish on that, and I'll be back when that's done, guys. That's our black down now on the weapons. So next is the first highlight, which I'm going to be using Dark Reaper for, and that's going to be around all the edges. So I'll just thin down some Dark Reaper off to the side here, and it's just a case of going around the black edges, and with this you should just be able to use the side of your brush and delicately just bringing in those highlights. Right, so do that around all the black edges, guys. I will too, and I will be back once that's done. Now that our Dark Reaper highlights are done, I'm just going to go around some of the sort of sharp edges and corners with a paint called Rust Grey. You don't need a lot of this paint, it is literally just sort of to go around some of the details and corners and sharpest edges, just to accentuate them a bit more. So I've got some of that thinned down on the side here, just loading up my brush, and it's sort of just these areas, these sharp details over here that you want just a touch, not a lot, just a touch, just to make them pop a bit more. And I'll just finish going around the model with this, guys, and then I'll be back to show you what that looks like. And that's the Rust Grey highlight done. You can see I've just sort of caught the edges and the sharpest points and just accentuated some of the detail, because the Dark Reaper highlight was still fairly dark. Now, just to really make the weapons pop, this step is optional. You could call your weapons done here if you would like, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some Blue Horror and then just put some spot highlights on some of the very sharpest edges, and I'm pretty much just saying spot highlight because that's what I mean. So you just want to sort of just highlight, just doing little dot highlights on all the sharpest of edges, just to sort of try and really emphasize just how sharp this weapon actually is. So I'm just going to go around and do that, guys, and I'll be back when that's done. And that spot highlight applied, guys, your Cryptothorls are finished. I would recommend that you base them the same as you've based the rest of your Necron army. I'll be basing mine using my usual method for basing my Necrons. I'll leave a link in the description and just up above if you want to see that. I will just get that done and then show you guys the end result. And that's the finished article, all based up to match the rest of my Necrons. Just bring the other guy in here so you can have a look at him too. I do have the basing tutorial, as I said, on the channel for that if you want to check that out. And if you're interested in seeing how I do my other weapons for sort of like more energy based weapons, then consider giving the channel a subscription so you don't miss when I post that. Anyway, that's it from me for today, guys. If you found this tutorial at all helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could please give the channel a like. And as I say, if you're interested in seeing that Scorpic Lord being painted up as well as all the other models out with the Indomitus box, then consider giving the channel a subscription. Thanks a lot for your support, guys. Bye.